We are going to talk today through a couple of things. So I'm going to start a little bit broad with our kind of grant making strategy, why and how we've changed our grants over the past year or so. That includes our three-prong approach. So we'll do an overview of what that looks like. Impact grants that already completed this fall, this round of capacity building grants, and then our giving catalog. We'll go really in depth on capacity building grants for this spring. That does include a walkthrough of the grant system, so I'll prep you when that's coming. Those of you who are familiar with the portal already, you can zone out during that. We'll come back together for FAQs and some additional resources at the end. So to start, we have really shifted our strategy here at the Community Foundation for the ways that we are implementing our grant making dollars, specifically our discretionary grant making dollars. So you'll see from the Community Foundation, we're posting about our total number of assets, total number of grant making, right? So last year we granted about $3 million out. Only a very, very small portion of that is truly discretionary dollars that we have absolute total control of. Those are the dollars that make up these competitive grant cycles. The rest of those funds are coming from our donor advised fund holders. And as you're all familiar with the donor bill of rights, we really keep the donor intent for those dollars. Many of those donors are very active in recommending where those funds are going. So just want you to kind of be aware of when you see that $3.2 million, but then only see, $150,000 per grant cycle, that's kind of where the discrepancy lies. So if you have questions about that, let me know. But today we're really talking about the discretionary funds that we have control over. So with those funds, we are really leaning into our role as a community funder and working towards some best practices in grant making. That really does kind of shift our grant making toward these larger impact grants. You saw that this fall, we had 5 $25,000 grants awarded in the fall, really on kind of large, widespread community benefit projects. So we were excited about moving in that direction, but we know there's a lot of nonprofits in the area, and we are kind of a major player in that game, right? And so we do want to continue to provide operational support and those kind of smaller grants to more organizations to be able to still help in that way, especially with our grassroots, smaller, new organizations. So we will continue to provide that operational support through these spring capacity building grants. So this is our three-prong approach that we're trying out this year. This is a pilot year. We'll see how things go. And please do fill out our nonprofit survey if you have opinions on how that should look. We want to hear from you. But we have 3 cycles. So the fall impact cycle that just completed was program and capital campaign support. This spring cycle that you're going to learn a lot about today is really capacity building. We have kind of narrowed that down. So we'll talk about what that looks like and what we mean by that here in a bit. But these are operational support dollars. The awards will be up to $2,500, and this cycle will conclude in May. We also, all year round, have our giving catalog. So this is we do it in 2 cycles. So from January to June and then July to December, you can have a request on our online giving tool. That's up to $2,500. Those are in program support. I do want to note that is not a competitive application-based cycle. That is simply a tool for mostly for our donors to use to be able to crowdsource fund projects with immediate needs. So we do have a full info session on the giving catalog actually tomorrow at noon. So join us then if you have questions or want to learn more about the giving catalog. We will also record that, so it'll be up on the site. Kind of generally speaking, still, I want to go over a little bit of our DEI and grant making, ways that we support inclusion through all of our competitive grant cycles. So again, we offer operating support. We provide these info sessions for you to ask questions and hopefully fully understand kind of what we're looking for, so we're not wasting your time in applications either, and that's important to us. We use a short application, really only the things that we need to know we'll have you fill out. We split our resources into our 6 interest areas, so many of you are familiar with that. We want to make sure as a community foundation, we're funding the full community, so we don't choose a specific interest area like, we won't only fund education that year. We'll be funding in all of the interest areas. We limit 1 application per organization. This is really so that those organizations who might have a grant writer or someone on staff specific to development aren't able to put in 10 applications where a volunteer run organization might maybe have time to squeak in one. So it's kind of leveling the playing field for those smaller grassroots orgs. We use a community review team. That's a very important part of our process. All of the scoring, evaluation, and recommendations are coming from community voices. So we love that piece. It's a lot on the back end, which is why it takes us a little while to get our funding turned around, but I think it's really important to make sure we have that voice. We do not require matching funds for any of our grants, and we also don't use a reimbursement plan. So when the award is decided, we send a check right away and you use it for what the application was written for, but we don't need receiving any of that to do reimbursements. Okay, in potatoes, we're going to dive in to the spring capacity building grants. So the purpose of these grants is really to support operations, growth, and sustainability of our nonprofits, especially but not limited to our new grassroots and BIPOC-led orgs. And these will specifically be for this cycle around infrastructure and software and technology. So we'll talk about what that means. More broadly speaking, capacity building, as defined by the National Council of Nonprofits, is an investment in the effectiveness and future sustainability of the nonprofit. So as you're filling out your application, be thinking about kind of that definition and the sustainability growth of your organization. It's really what we're hoping these kind of seed grants will help. Eligibility. Okay, so any organization who wants to apply needs to either be a 501c3 nonprofit or have a fiscal agent, or there's some kind of the school district, some of the cities. If you have a question on whether or not you are eligible, let me know, reach out. We'll be able to kind of walk through that with you. If you're looking for a fiscal sponsor, you can reach out to us as well. We do not typically provide that service, but we can connect you to some folks who might be able to. So 501c3 orgs, you must be located in or significantly serving Johnson County, Iowa. Again, if you have a question on what significantly serving means, let me know. We can talk through that. These grants will be, again, for infrastructure and software technology support. So make sure you're writing toward one of our kind of preferred funding areas. And then we will have a focus again on new grassroots and BIPOC-led organizations. However, we will not only be funding those types of organizations, so please still apply. We do have grant guidelines. I'll show you where those are on the website for you to really dive into. We'll talk through those today, but if you want to kind of reference that and go back to that, they are listed on the website for you. So our preferred areas of funding for these grants are in these two buckets. Infrastructure for us is really going to be one-time office purchases that have longer term impacts. For example, a printer copier for your office, any ADA compliance updates, safety features, that type of thing. Utility system upgrades, we learned during COVID, HVAC systems are very important. We need those. We need them to be in working order. So that is one, and then energy efficiency updates. If you have questions on whether or not something applies, let me know. Happy to do one-on-one conversations with you around the application. Software technology, we're looking for newer upgraded computer systems and their accessories, organization-wide softwares, for example, CRMs, so your client relationship management tool, QuickBooks, anything that is going to kind of move forward your full organization. Great. In addition to that, investment in your multi-channel marketing tools. So for example, an annual subscription to MailChimp or Constant Contact, things that will really kind of move the needle in your marketing. Also, camera video equipment is part of that. Communication system upgrades. For example, if you need to set up a voicemail system or get a full new phone system, those types of upgrades, as well as website updates and website kind of migration as well. So those are kind of our preferred areas. I also want to talk a little bit about the things we are not looking to fund, so you're aware of those as well. We will not be funding ongoing utility payments, event space rentals, printing costs, swag. You can read this list, but this is all listed out for you in the grant guidelines, so you can see that as you're kind of thinking through what you might want to apply for. In general, the same things as usual. We can't give to individuals. We can't do any political lobbying pieces. So take a look at that. Make sure that what you're looking to fund kind of complies with these pieces. If you have something that you're thinking, I think it fits in that bucket, but I'm not sure, reach out. I love a one-on-one. Happy to chat through those things with you. So our timeline for this cycle, we will open applications February 1st. They will be open the full month of February. So close the 28th. It is a short month. Evaluations will be during that March, April timeframe. So that's when our community reviewers will score and make recommendations. We will do awards in late April. We're not quite sure how that's going to look this time. So also, if you have a great idea on how we want to do that, let us know. We'll either be doing a quick kind of check photo in person at our office, potentially coming to you, or we'll do like a quick little luncheon or breakfast. We're not really sure how that's going to look. Grant reports. So this is different than our typical. Usually our reports are due the following June 30. These ones with only a $2,500 request and something kind of, you know what you're going to spend it on, we can do it a little bit faster. So we should be wrapping up in December of this same year. So let us know if that timeline needs to be extended for you, or you have something, but you're not sure if you can get it done in time. Reach out. We're happy to make some extensions and do that as well. But we will be reporting in December, and our reporting is going to look a little bit different for this cycle. So with only a $2,500 max, we're not going to require you to get in and do a full written report. That's just not necessary for the amount of time for that amount of funds. So we will be having you publish either a public social media post tagging us, a section in your newsletter with reference to us, or a direct mailing to your folks. So kind of however you already communicate with your clients, your folks, your donors, however that looks, we're happy to just kind of tag in with that and have it referenced there. We do want to spread our name, obviously, and make folks aware of us, but we also realize kind of the burden on time on staff for reporting. So hopefully that is an easy, quick report for you and makes it a little less cumbersome. If this is an issue for you, let me know. If you don't do any type of marketing, you don't have any newsletter, XYZ, that is just fine. Let us know and we'll find another way for you to report back. All right, where you can access the information. So on our website, at the top of your screen, whenever you go to our site, this menu is always going to be up there no matter what page you're on. Under grant making, there's a drop-down tab that has spring capacity building grants. Easy peasy. Should be able to find that hopefully. That leads you to the page that looks like this. A couple things to note on this page. This is where the capacity building grant guidelines live. So this will link you to a doc that has all of the information in it. Check that out before you apply. And then this apply now button leads you directly to the grants portal. Another way to get to the grants portal, under that same grant making tab, there's a drop-down menu that just says grants portal. Click on that and it will lead you to this page. This has the big orange login to the grants portal page. Note this My Fund login that is always at the top left corner of our screen is not the grants portal. This is a donor portal. That kind of catches us up sometimes. So just be aware, in My Fund, not you. Grants portal, yes, you. Let me know if you have questions. We're going to walk through the grants portal, how it works. So this is the time, if you're very familiar, you may zone out. We'll circle back with FAQs and some other resources. But I do want to make sure we go through, even as a refresher for those of you who are familiar, when you log into the grants portal, this is kind of your home login screen. It should look like this. If it looks different than this, you're likely in the donor portal. Back out and go to the grants portal. If your organization already has an account, it will stop you when you try to use the EIN. In that case, reach out to me and we'll get a user account set up for you under the organization that already exists. If you create a new one, it ends up getting very confusing and your pieces don't always live in the same spot. So make sure you do let me know if you already have an account. If you're not sure if you have an account, you can also let me know and I can look you up and see. So feel free to reach out. for that. However, if you need to create an account, it looks something like this. Pretty simple, pretty kind of user-friendly, just fill in boxes. Anything with the asterisk is required. For the most part, we need org, address, EIN. Whether or not you have an account already, as far as the organization goes, you may need to create your user account. This is going to be linked to the organization, but you can have multiple people under your org. So if your CEO and your development director want to be on, that's just fine. You can make accounts for both of those folks. I also can do this for you on the back end. So if you're confused, you're not sure, you don't know who has access, let me know, we can do that. Please note though, the username is going to be the email. So make sure you use an email that is active. You check pretty consistently because this is also where your information will go. So whether or not you received an award, decision notifications, all those pieces will go to this email. So use one that you actually use, not a junk one. I will also have you confirm that email for the reasons we just talked about. We got to make sure that you are actually getting the information for your funding. So make sure you do that if you're creating a new account. When you are logged in, you will have a dashboard that looks something like this. Hopefully it's branded a little more to us, but it looks like this. The home button at the top left there will always be there for you to go back out to this kind of landing page. You will see this apply button, hopefully, and that is where you can go to see all of the current updated options for you to apply. You will see some older options. So for example, you might still see our impact grants, those types of things. It shouldn't let you apply. It should tell you that it's over, but you will still see those because if the reporting's not done, they still have to live out there. So just know that. That is also where you will go to find your reporting. So at the homepage, you'll see processes listed something like this. So it would say Spring Capacity Building Grant. This is where you can figure out where you're at in the process, right? So you can either edit your application. If you haven't started it yet, there'll be an apply button. You can hit that. Pretty user friendly. I think when you're in it, you'll be able to navigate. Once you are in an application, a couple of things to know. You can always hit one of these two buttons. Application packet will create a PDF for you of all of questions and whatever answers you filled in. So if you, right before you submit, if you want to make sure you have a PDF packet of it, that's where you can do that. Additionally, question list will be only the questions you have to answer. It will not include your answers. So application packet includes your answers, question list does not. Additionally, pay attention to which button you're hitting. Save application is going to be, yep, you can save it, go back into it at any point. Submit is like, I am fully done. You will not be able to get back into the application once you have hit the submit button. So know that, make sure. But also make sure that you do hit submit before the end of the cycle. If you're a consistent saver and I need to go back and recheck that, that's just fine. Just make sure you hit submit. If there is something that you think of later, you need to add XYZ and you've already submitted, let me know. I can backtrack it, but it doesn't always work great. So please make sure you are saving and then only submitting when it's ready to go. All right, we are circled back. So those of you who zoned out, zone back in. We are doing some FAQs. Applications for organizations. We are doing one app per organization. However, I'm skipping to the third question. If you apply for this grant or if you received an impact grant, you can apply for additional funding from our other cycles. So we'll talk about Cauldron Fund in a second. In the Coralville community grants, you are able to apply for one per cycle, whatever we have going on. So just know that you can still apply if you're applying for this one. Any questions about online grants management system, the portal we just walked through? You can find instructions, walkthroughs, kind of like what I just did for you, written instructions and video instructions on our grants portal page. So if you need a refresher, you can go there. Our applications are no longer shared with our donor advised funds during the cycle. So we do all of our donor advised grant making now through that giving catalog. That's why it's important to have a request up there. We do still move any applications we see that fit with a specific donor's interests to them. However, it's not done during the cycle like it used to be. So you might be familiar with getting a check and having 2 or 3 donors listed as part of your kind of community grant. That is no longer happening in the same way. We're still filtering information to our donors. We're just doing it on a more personalized level and a lot faster. So we don't have to be waiting for their responses before we can get our grant funds out to you. So if you have questions about that too, let me know. And then we already chatted through this, but yes, we will have community reviewers making grant recommendations again. All right, some resources for you. Our website always has plenty of things on it for you to take a look at. It's got our grant guidelines, the process, the timeline, all of your application links, the tutorials for the system itself. If you are not on our e-newsletter yet, please join that. There's a link kind of at the bottom of our page, or you can email me and let me know. We'll get you added. That has all of our announcements and reminders in it. It's a once a month email. We also try to put other things that are going on in there for you. So take a look at that if you don't get that already. Our Facebook also has lots of announcements, and the application links will be posted there as well. And of course, reach out to our CFJC staff. We are happy to assist however we can. Wanted to give you an overview of our grants timeline for kind of this calendar year. So we already did our Giving Catalog spring distribution. We already did our impact grants, and we are now moved into Giving Catalog for the fall and our spring capacity building grants. So this is kind of what's going on right now, and then we'll shift over in the new fiscal year to some new grants. Things we've got going on right now. You may have heard of the underestimated small business grants. These are actually for-profit businesses. Excuse me. So this one is not necessarily open to our nonprofits, but I do want you to be aware of what it is as you see us posting things about it. So this is not funding coming from the community foundation. This is funding coming from the county. We're assisting in the process alongside Greater Iowa City, Inc. and South of 6 Business District. So we're doing some small business grants specifically to folks who were impacted by COVID-19. Those are happening through the end of this month. So you will see that in the system. Don't be confused. That is not for you. That's also not our funding, but we are a partner in that work, and they're using our portal for that. The Cauldron Fund for Seniors grants. This is a new grant for us this year. We hold a fund that specifically funds projects and programs assisting adults 65 and up with limited income. So if you are working in those spaces, take a look at that information. That grant information is already on our website as well. So you can check that out. That will open February 28th and close March 21st. The maximum request amount for that one is $5,000. So make sure if you are serving that population, you take a look at that grant opportunity. And then our Coralville Community Fund grants specific to programs and projects that benefit residents of Coralville will open March 1st and close the 24th. They have a maximum request amount of $10,000. So hopefully you'll see all of those in the system and know that they're coming up. You can think through kind of what might fit and what might not fit for you. Additionally, our Giving Catalog is open. We did change our request amount. So instead of being up to 10,000, it's going to be up to 2,500. We'll talk through that change and all the other updates, things going on in our info session tomorrow around that. So if you are able to join us again tomorrow, please do. Otherwise, there'll be a recording and you can always ask me questions. This cycle will run through June. Okay, that was a lot of me chatting at you. Now we have time for you all. Aaron, did we have any questions in the chat?
No, we did not on the chat.
All right. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns, things for the good of the group?
Looks like JC has a question. Oh, JC, I think you're muted.
You could have had more fun with that and let me go on. But Yeah, I guess just new to the whole grant writing scene, and any veterans here that like are there any common hiccups people waste their time on first and then have to backtrack? Is anything off the top of your head? I was just curious.
That's a great question. I'm gonna let veteran grant writers on here answer that if you feel so inclined.
I think you guys do a really good job of keeping it really straightforward. You don't try to throw in a ton of unnecessary questions that I think a lot of other sometimes organizations do. The one thing, will you remind me, do you guys have a budget template?
We do not.
Okay.
We do try to make that pretty simple. So I think in the guidelines, it might talk a little bit about it. I believe there is both a place to upload and a narrative space. Hopefully that is the case. I'll check after this. But you are able to do either or. So if you want to upload we're not asking for your operational budget. We're not asking for your P&L. We don't need any of that for these grants. It will just be the project budget. Very simple, like here are the line items, here's how much they cost, here's the total. If it is a bigger amount for the total project than what you're asking for, we'll ask that you just let us know what the grant will actually be funding. So in the line items, you can just say like CFJC grant or, whatever else that looks like. And additionally, if you have other funding to cover the rest of the project, you can let us know that too. Sometimes the reviewers are like, well, if we only give them this much of it, will they be able to do the rest? So that's always good to include as well. Does that answer your question, Sarah?
Yeah, and I think that's just like one of those things that sometimes you get there and you're like, oh crap, I have to, it just sometimes takes a couple, like, a little bit more time to think about. So just having that, knowing that you're gonna have to either like do a budget narrative or put a little budget together, that's always something good to be thinking about. And I think that
Okay.
is good about like, if you're gonna have other funds, if it is a huge project, making sure to just note where other funding's coming. So if the total gift.
Sure. Cool. Thank you.
That's great advice, Sarah.
I also have more questions, but I don't want to like take up the space if someone else has one.
Well, I can ask a question. So on the technology part, I'm Jenny Britton from the Agape Cafe, and we really just are recently getting caught up to the 21st century. So for example, I found some money to pay for a fundraising software database for this year. And so my question is, can the funding be for something you already have, or does it have to be for something new in the sense that like this grant will run out in the fall and then I need another $500 to buy the software again for the next year? Am I making sense?
Yes, you are. It does not need to be something new to your organization. It does not need to be an upgrade. It can be something that you are using year after year. So for example, if you have MailChimp and you have an annual subscription, but every year you have to pay for it, you can do for the next subscription. That is just fine. Yeah. Because
Thanks.
our hope, our intention is that will then free up those dollars in your budget for something else, right?
Big thumbs up.
Perfect.
JC, one thing I've always done or done when I can is when you think you're done and you're so sick of looking at it, have somebody who doesn't know anything about what you're doing read it out loud. Because it's just
Look at
amazing.
their eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just amazing how you think there's no mistakes, there's no grammar problem.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, is that even a word? So,
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that. Thank you.
On that thing that Jenny just mentioned as well about having somebody else look at it, I would also suggest if you have the time to be able to get it done and just walk away from it for a day or two and then come back to it and read it again. Because
Sure.
once you've been
Yeah.
staring at it for a while, it all kind of blends. So if you give
Yeah.
it some time, give it some space, and then come to it, you'll notice things that you didn't notice the first time you were reading through.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
That was good advice from both of you. I do want to make sure we also mention, I didn't call this out, but we care a lot more about the quality of what you are writing about and the work you're doing than the quality of your writing. So you do have to make sure you're being concise, and someone who doesn't know your organization at all can understand what you
Sure.
do from that application,
Right.
because our reviewers don't know everybody, right? They don't do all of your work.
Yeah.
But that being said, we do know that some folks have volunteer writers, some folks have folks who don't speak English as a first language writing their applications.
Sure,
So
yeah.
we care a whole lot less about grammar and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is rough for me as an English major sometimes. But
Oh, you.
I know us copy editors were rough, but
We need you. We need you.
we do want to make sure quality of the ask itself is the most important piece.
Thank you.
Cool.
That was my question, really. I want to ask if you do that, but thank you.
Yes, of course, Mazza here.
Thanks.
Good to see you on.
See you too. Thanks.
Ellie
Hey,
and
just
Aaron.
wanted to-
Oh, sorry. This
Oh,
is Haley
sorry.
from Film Scene. Could I ask a quick question?
You sure can, Haley.
So it sounds like the Spring Capacity Building grant, so this year is for infrastructure and technology, but I got the sense that that might not always be the focus for future years. Can you, either of you speak to that?
That is a great inference that you made. That is true. We are not sure if we will continue our grant structure really overall as it has been this year. So this, as many of you know, is a big shift from what we've done previously as far as our grant making strategy goes. We are doing some nonprofit surveys and we'll continue to do those. So after kind of each grant cycle, we do a survey out. Please fill out that survey with what went well, what didn't, what you want to see. Those are what's kind of moving us forward in how and where and when we're funding. So these capacity building grants came out of requests from organizations in that survey asking for this type of support. However, we did have to narrow down from like capacity building to a couple areas of capacity building to be able to kind of apples to apples compare applications. So we could continue to do capacity building support and choose a different like kind of area underneath that. For example, DEI work, for example, like capital structure stuff, right? Or professional development, any of those kind of nuanced pieces, that's kind of up to you all and what you give us as feedback and what we need to be funding moving forward. So that's a really vague answer saying I'm not sure. Our grants committee will make those decisions based on feedback we get from you all. So let us know.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? JC, did we get all yours? answered?
I was just saving my other ones because they're like have a slightly more personal flair to them. So I am on the board of development and we are building a theater south of 6. So we're in our capital campaign. Now,
Sure.
that being said, as I'm also a director and we're really looking to change kind of the face of what we're used to in theater and getting the community involved. And I just wondered if there was like a certain sort of presentation that I should stay within while we're in the capital campaign versus like maybe when we're done with it, like, you know, I guess where to stay in line, where to and when to deviate to, hey, we want youth workshops. We want like an ongoing donor for youth workshops, let's just say. And I just don't want to like run at the wrong thing right now, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. JC, let's take your question offline, maybe and do a
Okay,
one-on-one
perfect.
conversation. That would be great.
Yeah,
Also,
I wondered about that.
yeah, all good. Also,
Yeah.
Haley, while you're on, if I could connect the two of you, Film Scene just did a big capital campaign with a couple of the other organizations like the Englert Theater. So she might have some
Awesome.
good insight for you as well, if I can connect the two of you. So I will
Yeah.
e-connect you and make sure we keep that conversation moving forward. But look
Yeah,
for an
if you don't
email
mind,
from
Haley, that'd
Jesse.
be amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, happy to chat more for sure.
Oh, and I'm
Sorry to
obsessed
put
with
you on the
Film
spot,
Scene, so yay.
Oh, that's great. So many people have given me tips and insights. I feel like we're always
Amazing.
doing that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I would love to connect. That would be so ideal. And even speak of like future interact, you know, like I really want to see ICCT be a hub for the whole arts district, you know, and just like we can be somewhere you can come to find out what's going on at Film Scene, what's going on at the Angler, what's going on at CCPA, etc. So I have other things I've been meaning to talk to Film Scene about as well. So
Guys, this is my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing to be able to connect nonprofit folks with each other who are in the same spaces or in very different spaces. Can
yeah.
learn. All right. Other questions, comments, concerns for the good of the crew? Okay, we will put recording from today up on the site. So if you want to go back to it, we will have that up. Again, everything should be listed on the website. Hopefully you all have my contact information so you can reach out to me directly if you have any questions. Otherwise, we hope to see you potentially tomorrow at the same time. And check out our e-newsletter that Erin just dropped in the chat. Otherwise, appreciate you being on today. We look forward to your applications. Continue your good work and Happy New Year.